Before we dive into other people's music, which is kind of part of the at home with scenario, tell us an I'm Real story. Tell us something about making that song, about the energy of making that song.
You know, we were in the studio with Ja and Herb Gotti back in the day for Murder Inc. And they were just killing the streets back then. And that was a time in my career where, you know, we'd make a record on Thursday or Friday night and it'd be on the radio Monday morning. You know, like it was just a different thing.
And you would walk down the streets in New York, right? And the cars would be playing it, and it would be playing in apartments, and it's crazy.
And if it hit like boom right away. It's like now you have like this build up to things, and you know you can put out a record, and 6 months later it could be the thing. Like, but it wasn't like that back then. It's like you had a banger, you put it out, you had a bop, and it just went. It just went. And that's how we used to do it. And we did that with I'm Real. We did that with Ain't It Funny, which I also did with Murder Inc. They were just kind of remixes to things I had on my album that were purely for the streets, like just fun records for the streets. And they just became defining moments in my career. And it just goes to show you, like, when you do things very viscerally, like just out of your, like, that just kind of creatively pour out of you. Sometimes those are the best things than the things that you plan, these big projects, you know what I mean? And it's going to be this and it's going to be that. Those are great too, but there's something about just kind of like spitting things out and just letting it go.
We just played Party, we played Lonely. I love these songs. I love watching you collaborate with Maluma, who's just the charisma.
Me too.
Oh my God. Every time I see him on the FaceTime, I just want to crawl in there and give him a cuddle. He's so handsome and so charming. It's just annoying.
I know. He's so hot right now. And I'm so excited to be able to work with him and do the things that we've done. Excited for everything that's about to roll out. You know, Pati Lonely is just the tip of the iceberg. It's just the beginning of the things that we're doing together. So exciting.
We're talking about self-realization, greater self-awareness. In order to create greater awareness, there's a new artist on this playlist you've chosen that I feel has such a strong idea of who she is. From the minute that I heard her and met her, I knew that Rosalia wasn't taking any bull from anybody ever.
Well, again, like somebody who knows authentically who they are and doesn't feel they need to change. It's like, no, I'm this girl. And this is all I am, and accept me for who I am, and I'm gonna be at Coachella, you know, doing, cantos. Yeah, the whole thing. I'm trying to think of the exact word, but you know what I'm saying. She just went up there and she's like, singing the flamenco and doing her thing, and it was so powerful. People were like, well, who's this and what is this? And I don't know this, and I want to know more about this, and that's what I love. That's what I love about her, for sure.
One of those key words that keeps getting kicked around right now and it gets overused, but not in your case, and I used it already at the beginning of our conversation, was icon. I love that. It's a word that really sums up the progress and the journey to date without creating anything less than a relevant point of process. Right there in the moment, icon is still relevant. And you're continuing to make things that are as exciting to you as they've ever been. How do you kind of rationalize with other people's feelings towards you as you continue to succeed? Because it can create a greater distance from you and younger artists, and yet I can tell by your playlist that you care about new music and you care about young artists.
Well, you're going to see in this playlist, it's mostly like a lot of Latin artists, but urban artists, because that's who I am. I'm like Puerto Rican from the Bronx. So that's the vibe that I'm loving right now. So the whole thing is full of my favorites.
For you to have really taken the idea of who you are and your community and your culture, your upbringing, your family, and your lessons learned, where you lived, pull it together, and now you're watching it really become a thing, like globally become a thing. It must be beautiful to witness evolution take its course.
It's amazing, because for me, live music has always been such a big part of my upbringing. When, at Christmas time, all we listened to was salsa and merengue. When you're young, you're like, I hate this music. I want to hear hip hop. I want to hear the pop music. I want to do this. And they loved, my parents and my grandparents, they always like instilled that in us. And I didn't realize how much it seeped into my blood and into my makeup, that it would be a part of me in this way as I got older, and how much I'm connected to, Latin music, and how much, I just loved it. I grew to love it in such a way that growing up in the Bronx, I didn't think I would. Like, it was like not the cool thing. And now to see it kind of permeate the streets in the way that it has, because it's really the urban Spanish music, the reggaeton, all of that stuff, right? That has kind of taken over.
Serious.
It's so much fun. It's pop music now. It's pop music now. And so for me, being part of what they called the Latin explosion with Ricky Martin and Mark and Anthony and Enrique Iglesias and Shakira back in that time, where it was like, they called it the Latin explosion. All of these artists came out at the same time. It's crazy to see it now. And we had to sing English music, but now it's like Spanish music on the charts, right? It's a whole different movement.
For those people that don't know, weren't really around to realize or have forgotten, can you just remind us of some of the challenges? It was tough, right, for you to go out there and be authentically yourself.
It really was. At that time, there wasn't, and it's still not great now, just for a caveat, right? But back then it was just like, how am I going to be an actress? And in my mind, I was like, I want to play the girl, the woman, right? Just not the Latin woman in the Latin role where you think I should play, the cook or the nanny or something like that, right? That I wanted to be the lead. I wanted to just represent for everybody and make everybody see that it didn't matter if you were Latin or Black or Asian or whatever, you're a girl, you're a human being. And so there was those challenges of breaking through that. And when I got my first romantic comedy, I remember thinking, oh, I'm the girl. I did it. Or when I got, even the movie Anaconda, and it was me and Cube, starring in an action movie. And we weren't going to get killed. We survived. He did not get killed in the first few minutes, right? I did not get killed in the first few minutes. Everybody else died, and we survived. And that was groundbreaking. And it was very challenging at that time. Really, really hard. And I think now it's more accepted, but still, I mean, the Latin representation in movies is still like 6%. I think there was I remember I was at some conference, and this woman was talking about how we needed more diversity in films and people producing and everything, and that the 2 films that were produced and starred in by Latin people were mine. It was just my 2 that year. It was like, what?
That's unnerving, because on the one hand, you're proud of your own achievements. On the other hand, your achievements only serve to reflect how little achievement there is for people.
And so, the quest goes on. And when you have a movement like this and music going on, because I believe music dictates the whole entire world, because fashion follows music, movies follow music, everything follows music. So what's happening right now with all of these artists singing in Spanish and charting in the English charts and in the global charts is such a big deal. And you watch how that, kind of tumbleweeds or snowballs into something even better and bigger for Latinos in the world and in this country. So I'm excited about what's happening in music for sure.
We get to a point in this playlist where, we're going to play somebody whose voice became so essential, so quick, so real. Pop Smoke, he really had that same energy as a Biggie, as a Tupac, somebody, the urgency of his words and what he was trying to say. It felt like there was just this purpose behind the music, not just the melodies in the moment, but purpose.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing that, again, that certain artists just explode onto the scene, and immediately it's like you say, like a Tupac or somebody like that, or a Biggie, that they cut through, and the things that they have to say, and the way that they say it, and their style, and again their kind of street swagger, where they came from, makes you really think about life. And I just love being part of this community. For me, it's a blessing, and to be able to watch it. And it's such a tragedy that we have things like this happen still. Even I think about Nipsey, I think about, all of those things, and it's just the tragedy of it, right?
It's something I will never get my head around on a human level. And as a music fan, it always strikes me, and perhaps there's something about this that happens in context after, when you realize you've lost somebody, then you recognize the things that maybe you took for granted. But I always think that with someone like a Nipsey or a Pop Smoke, you think about, why is it that so many of the artists that we lose were doing things beyond the music? It felt like there was this energy that was healing beyond the music.
I know, and they wind up being symbols for us to follow. It's, years ago, I did a movie called El Cantante. It was the first movie I produced. Mark Anthony played Hector Lavoe, who was a big Spanish Latin music icon, salsa icon. And there was something about delving into his story. And he was, addicted to drugs, and it wound up doing him in at the end. But there was something about what he had to deliver to the world. And he was a sacrificial lamb. I remember thinking, as a producer of the film, thinking certain artists come here and they're not meant to be here very long. And it's so tragic because they mean so much to us and they so define a time. And it doesn't seem fair. And you wish it was different. But you try to make sense of it and you just go, okay, he was, to do what he needed to do, he was tormented, and there was a bit of a sacrifice of his life to have that. And sometimes with these artists, as I try to make sense of it, I just go, there was a bigger thing at play. There had to be, because it doesn't make sense.
What's Alex playing? Where's he at? What part of the puzzle is he moving with? Yeah, music wise.
Alex is stuck in the 80s. Alex is a rock band, like metal, not metal, like hair band.
I love that.
And then he goes between 305 like booty music.
This playlist has been exceptional. I think I'm pretty up to date, but I don't want to get any more wrong. So you have to pick the next one. You choose the next one we're going to play.
You know what I'm liking? I love this Un Dia with J Balvin, Dua Lipa, Bad Bunny. Yeah, I love that one.
Let's just talk about like how rare it is for pop stars to catch a meteor these days. We have a lot of people trying things and moving in this. It's a very like experimental space pop music right now. And I personally love it. But then someone just catches a star and gone, and that's Dua.
There's something about her. Like, I know that she's looking and she has like the bigger picture vision. Like, I can tell when an artist it's like, I want to do it big, and I'm going to study people, and I'm going to look at things, and I'm going to go to shows, and I'm going to figure this out in the right way. And she's killing the game right now. She's doing really well. I'm a fan.